Heather, I wanted to start with you first. When you headed into season one of the Bystanders, you said everything was so new for you and the creative team. What did you learn from that experience that you were able to bring to season two?
Well, the Bystanders podcast is this beautiful creation of both like art and music, and it almost feels like a play that you're listening to.
Mm,
It feels
yeah.
like this wonderful surround sound of like just this play unfolding, and we really loved how we created that in season one with Tori Cummins, who did our music, Alex Carter, and Tim McEwen, who did the sound engineering, and then we had our writers Ash Lindsay and Jacqueline Hills, who also created and directed it. And so for season two, I jumped on board as a writer as well. And we also had casting. That's how we nailed Luke. And the project just got a lot bigger in season two, which was so helpful, that we had all the tools for us, like casting, so we didn't have to reach out and ask friends.
Mm.
But it was also a lot more of a learning curve. We had so much more on our plate just to help us understand. And actually, it proved to be beneficial because now I feel like we have so much under our belt as far as like, being a creator and going out and doing more, especially in the TV film realm. So as many hurdles as there were for this, it's definitely helped us a lot.
Luke, you've done it all throughout your career. What was it about this script, this medium, and this character that resonated with you?
Yeah, well, firstly, I didn't have to fly anywhere to do it. And also, I just loved this character. Absurd, funny, evil, just all of the things that I wanted to get to do. And yeah, I immediately resonated with the character.
And Heather, like you were just saying, you stepped in as a writer this season. When you're creating these characters, I imagine you have an idea of who they are, but once you cast everyone in their respective roles, you want to give the actors the freedom to interpret and make these characters their own. How did you create the space for the cast to do that?
Well, luckily we were able to just send the sides and the actors just sent them back. And obviously this isn't like, there was no live casting room. So we weren't giving notes. So we basically got 10 to 12 like tapes back per character that we sent out. And we have Luke in mind already. We knew we were interested in him for a role. I had a feeling for the character that he plays. But we had to hear him first. I think he read for a few different roles. I think he read for Dirk and
Maybe.
and somebody else. Yeah. But him along with Ignacio Diaz Silverio, like the second we heard their tape, there was no need for like notes, correction. We didn't have to have a separate meeting with Luke before we got on the Zoom and say, hey, listen, let's discuss this character. We love what you
Mm.
did, but we want you to go in this direction. It was like, oh no, he nailed it. We can't wait to work with him. And we'll probably have to give him one or two notes, which was the case. He just killed it.
Luke, podcasting is a relatively new media. Which of the techniques that you've developed for film and television have translated well for podcasting? And were there any new techniques that you developed for this project specifically?
I've seen people do techniques only recently, and I've been amazed at what I don't do. And maybe I need to learn some new techniques. But no, for me, there's no different technique unless I hear about a new one or I start doing a new one. For me, it's similar to just acting. And as Heather would be aware of, because she was present while I was recording, was I was moving physically as if I was, gesticulating, etc., to make sure that like everything's kind of coming through the mic. How it informs the voice. Maybe it's quite heard, but so I kind of move as if I'm actually speaking, as if I'm playing the role physically, as if you can see me.
Mm. Yeah, I saw the
Well, it's helpful
Instagram story.
too. I mean, I've taken a few of those classes for like the techniques that you do when you're doing voiceover, and he nailed it. He knew exactly what to do. Moving forward as a producer, we want to make sure we're getting studios going forward for these actors because we want the sound to be as crisp as possible and them not have to worry about, oh, am I making noises on the mic that I shouldn't be?
Yeah.
So I think like technically wise, like moving forward, we're excited for doing some more studio work.
Well, I know Heather, you're writing, producing, and directing this narrative podcast. If you found that the work that you've now done behind the scenes has impacted the way that you approach your work on screen, how helpful is it having the experience as an actor as you collaborated with this cast?
I mean, the cast was so inspiring. We had so many great performances. It definitely did. Like, just the knowledge I know about like the lucidity and the comfortability that you have like on set, it just makes the characters so much more rich and fun. And just playing around and being a good person. We were just talking about that a second ago. Like, just being a joy to be around, especially in settings like this where, a lot of actors don't have jobs. Like, be
Yeah.
grateful for what you have. I mean, we've provided a platform on the Bystanders where you get to play around not only with a zany, fun comedy, but there's also, some cool character development happening. And you got some cool characters. You got Jolo Trulio, Kathleen Turner, Margaret Cho, Luke. It was really cool and helpful as an actor to watch.
Yeah, you've got an all-star cast for both seasons. Luke, similarly, is experience different when you're working with a creative team that has experience in front of the camera? What was it like getting to collaborate with Heather and the rest of the creative team?
And very closely, they were, giving me notes. They were notes I loved and found really helpful. That they're pushing you in the right direction. Sometimes you work with people and they're pushing you in the wrong direction. And by the way, as an actor, you just have to do what they tell you, even if you think they're wrong. But working with pros.
I know, Heather, in season one, you all hosted an after show with your cast. Is that something that you're going to plan on doing for season two?
Yeah, I think definitely that's something we want to do. I know we're excited to get more into season 3 and some of the storylines that could inform. We had so much fun diving into the bystander effect, the psychological phenomenon that more people are present in an emergency, the less likely people are to help. And there's so many different ways you can look at that. And I think we're excited for how we can pivot into season 3 of what it would look like if they do help, because season 1 and season 2, nobody's really helping. And season 3, we're like, what happens if you do? And the repercussions of some of the situations where people do help and then it backfires on them. So that's interesting to kind of dive
Yeah.
into. I know the conversations are great, but that's what we have you guys for.